If you only look at the crowd, you wouldn't even realize this chaos actually took place on a Royal Caribbean ship. Right after Carnival, Royal Caribbean is the next cruise line known for multiple onboard brawls and countless passengers ending up on its blacklist. It's almost ridiculous. Bad behavior really does seem to spread from one cruise line to another. And here's just one example. According to witness accounts and early reports, the initial confrontation began in an elevator. This confined vertical space, which is often crowded, loud, and impatient, has long been a hotspot for friction on large ships. A bump, a shove, or a verbal jab can spark tensions easily. When the elevator doors opened onto Deck 6, home of the Royal Promenade, the conflict spilled out and grew rapidly. Within moments, multiple smaller fights erupted, some fueled by loyalty, others by curiosity, and still others by alcohol. One of the most surprising details is the age range of those involved. All participants apprehended were between 16 and 19 years old. This matters because teenagers on cruise ships travel with families or guardians, and their behavior reflects more than just individual impulsiveness. It highlights a generational shift in onboard conduct. Teen groups often move in clusters, emboldened by peer dynamics and the illusion of invincibility. On a ship with thousands of passengers and easy access to nightlife and energy-filled venues, another fight also broke out in an elevator on a Royal Caribbean ship last year, and it again involved teenagers. An 18-year-old passenger, Michael White, from Siler City, North Carolina, was arrested and removed from the ship, and was later banned from future cruises, after injuring another guest. The incident occurred while Liberty of the Seas was at sea. The Broward County Sheriff's Office arrest report detailed a violent encounter in and around an elevator aboard the Liberty of the Seas. During an elevator ride, a couple of passengers asked a group of teenagers and young men to stop jumping up and down on the elevator, which was causing it to sway while in motion. The report indicated this caused the group to reply, "Bitch, who are you talking to?" When the elevator reached the 8th floor and stopped, the couple tried to exit the elevator but were assaulted. Once the victim got out, he said he started getting struck by individuals in the face area, causing him to stagger backward. After staggering backward, he fell to the floor, and that's when he started getting kicked. Also, at this point, the victim said he blacked out, and the next thing he knew, he woke up in a pool of blood on the floor. Upon the ship's return to Port Everglades, Broward County Police boarded the vessel and arrested Michael White, charging him with aggravated battery causing bodily harm, which is a felony charge. And in most onboard brawls, the ship's security team often takes quite some time to fully regain control. In nearly all major fights, injuries have already occurred by the time security is able to intervene, even when they were alerted early. Cruise ship security officers are professionally trained, but they are often outnumbered compared to the volume of passengers on board. They also face strict limitations. They are not allowed to use tasers or pepper spray, and their use of force is heavily restricted. On top of that, many security staff members are physically smaller than the large, muscular passengers they sometimes have to restrain. The massive size and capacity of today's cruise ships demand expanded security procedures, faster response strategies, and perhaps even a re-evaluation of staffing ratios. More broadly, this incident reflects a deeper shift occurring across the cruise industry. The post-pandemic boom in cruising has brought a new type of traveler onto ships, one who may not be familiar with cruising etiquette or the need for cooperative behavior in shared spaces. With more families, more teens, and more first-time cruisers entering the market, cruise lines are seeing increased levels of friction, misunderstandings, and inflamed tempers. Unlimited drink packages, high-density crowds, and late-night entertainment further amplify the potential for problems. And that's a long-standing issue that the cruise lines will need considerable time to address. But Royal Caribbean now faces an additional, more urgent problem: the temporary closure of several acrylic water slides across the fleet while they wait for inspections of key components. Earlier in the year, a portion of a slide on Icon of the Seas split open, an isolated but visually dramatic failure. Since then, the company has begun reviewing installations across the fleet, shutting down attractions on Navigator, Independence, Harmony, and others. This situation reflects a broader challenge within the cruise industry: the pressure to deliver bigger, faster, more extreme onboard attractions. As ships evolve into floating theme parks, maintenance requirements naturally grow more complex. Water slides, particularly those integrating glass-like acrylic tubes, experience intense mechanical forces, UV exposure, chemical stress, and pressure differentials. Occasional closures are, in many ways, inevitable. What frustrates guests, however, is not the closure itself, but the lack of advance notice. Many families choose a ship based on specific attractions. Learning on embarkation day that a marquee slide is offline can feel like a breach of expectation. Royal Caribbean often tries to compensate by extending hours for other attractions, such as the Flow Rider. But the communication gap remains a persistent point of frustration. And if you're planning to sail with Royal Caribbean soon because you enjoy the onboard thrill rides, make sure to check the current operating status of these attractions. It's the best way to avoid an unexpectedly disappointing trip. Cruise ships are supposed to be floating slices of paradise, sparkling pools, endless buffets, tropical cocktails, and the comforting illusion that everyone around you is at least somewhat sane. Yet even on a billion-dollar floating resort, it only takes a few reckless passengers to turn everything into complete chaos. Clearly, in cases of such disruptive behavior, cruise lines will immediately remove the offenders and ban them from sailing for life. First, there was a commotion on the MSC Seashore during the late-night adults-only comedy show. Comedian Robert Hines was making jokes about a minor scuffle between two male passengers when a woman in the audience took great offense at his comments. In a dramatic turn, she jumped on stage, threw a drink, tried to hurl her shoe, and confronted Hines face-to-face before being escorted out. It seems she had been drinking earlier, and her outburst was reportedly because she knew one of the two male passengers involved. As expected, she was removed from the ship and banned from sailing in the future. Next, one of the most infamous stories begins with a group of YouTubers who boarded a celebrity cruise, not for relaxation, not for adventure, but for the sole purpose of getting kicked off as fast as possible. Yes, that was their mission. They roamed the decks, causing minor chaos, annoying innocent passengers who clearly just wanted to sip a mojito in peace. But the real spectacle began during the welcome comedy show, which is usually a wholesome get-to-know-the-crew moment. Not for these guys. They decided to heckle the captain, the man driving the ship, the human in charge of navigating the actual ocean. Their jokes were so painfully unfunny that the air itself seemed to groan.
Oh, this guy fucks. Let's go.
The cruise director tried to rein them in gently.
Come down, please. Come
Oh,
down.
sorry. I was hyping
very
him up.
much.
I was hyping him up.
All right.
But subtlety was wasted on them. They kept shouting, interrupting, and firing off half-baked jokes that made everyone in the room experience second-hand embarrassment so intense it could bend steel. Finally, the main comedian walked out, an older guy who had absolutely no patience left in his soul. He threatened to walk down and smack them in the mouth.
In 5 minutes, I'll come down there and smack you in the mouth if you don't shut up.
And honestly, the audience looked ready to applaud if he tried. Naturally, the circus ended with consequences. The next day, the YouTubers were summoned for a meeting with the hotel director, the cruise equivalent of being called to the principal's office, except with more paperwork and more security officers watching. Their punishment: immediate removal from the ship and a lifetime ban from celebrity cruises. They booked a 5-day vacation and didn't even survive 24 hours. For them, it was mission accomplished. For everyone else, it was a collective sigh of relief. Another story involves a young woman who decided to try something called rail surfing. If you're unfamiliar, rail surfing is essentially the art of balancing on the outer staircase railing while the ship is moving, basically an Olympic sport nobody asked for. Most people look at cruise ship railings and think, that looks dangerous. She saw them and thought, sick balance beam. So she climbed up, leaned, and attempted to ride the railing like a human skateboard. Gravity unsurprisingly disagreed with this plan. She slipped, fell hard, and the only reason the story isn't a tragedy is pure, dumb luck. She walked away with a broken rib and a bloody lip-painful yes, but considering the alternative involved falling into the ocean and becoming a headline about why cruise safety briefings exist, she was extremely fortunate. Afterward, she swore she'd never try it again. Hopefully, she meant it, and hopefully everyone around her took notes too. The next tale begins innocently with a glass door, yes, a door, on a Holland America World cruise. An Illinois businessman casually walked into it, hit his head, shrugged it off, and continued enjoying the remaining 280 days of the trip. He visited ports, enjoyed the onboard entertainment, ate good food, and seemingly lived his best life. But once he got back home, he claimed the incident had ruined him permanently. He filed a lawsuit alleging seizures, mood changes, and lasting brain damage, and his wife tearfully testified that the vibrant, energetic man she knew had vanished. The jury was moved, the courtroom was stunned, and he walked away with a jaw-dropping award of $21.5 million. For context, people wrongfully imprisoned for decades sometimes get a fraction of that amount. That's how massive the payout was. But the plot twist rolled in like a rogue wave. His former assistant stepped forward and claimed the entire act was fake, that the man had deleted emails to hide evidence, studied seizure symptoms online, and practiced them to appear convincing. Essentially, he turned faking an injury into a full-time job. With this bombshell, the cruise line appealed. The $21.5 million verdict completely overturned. The only thing truly injured on that trip was his credibility. Now, if that story made you lose faith in humanity a little, don't worry, the next one will finish the job. This tale stars a man who did not want to wait in line for immigration when the ship reached port. Every cruise passenger knows the drill. Before touching land, everyone clears. Immigration. Its routine takes a few minutes, and you're free to go explore. But this man decided waiting was beneath him. Instead, he walked to the edge of the ship, looked at the Caribbean water, and said, "Yeah, that's a good idea," before jumping overboard. He splashed into the water, instantly breaking several laws and confusing every crew member watching. Instead of enjoying a fun swim, he was quickly picked up by authorities, arrested for illegal entry, deported, and slapped with a lifetime ban from Carnival cruises. All because he didn't want to stand in line like a normal human being. Finally, we arrive at the story of a man who wanted the perfect viral video. He positioned himself dramatically at the front of a princess cruise ship, while his friend stood on the pier with a camera. The goal, a cinematic slow-motion jump straight into fame. For 3 glorious seconds, he soared through the air like a budget Hollywood stuntman. Cruise lines do not find this sort of behavior cute, impressive, or even mildly tolerable. After the big splash, the man and his cameraman were promptly removed from the ship and banned for life. What was supposed to be an epic social media moment turned into a permanent exile from future vacations, buffets, and soft-serve ice cream machines. 3 seconds of adrenaline for a lifetime of, "Yeah, bro, it was totally worth it." So what do all these stories teach us? Mainly, the ocean may be vast, but human recklessness is apparently even larger. Cruise ships are built to give people joy, comfort, and unforgettable memories. But as these 5 tales prove, some passengers insist on making those memories unforgettable, for all the wrong reasons. If you ever set sail, just remember, Follow the rules, respect the railings. Do not heckle the captain, and please, for the love of all things tropical and peaceful, stay inside the ship, unless your vacation package specifically includes jumping into the ocean at your own risk. Because paradise is wonderful, but paradise with idiots, that's an entirely different kind of adventure. So to avoid such situations, what do cruise lines do? Cruise lines have tightened guest conduct rules, and enforcement major operators publish explicit policies that allow staff to refuse service, remove, and permanently ban passengers for violence, harassment, dangerous stunts, intoxication, or illegal entry. Recent public rule updates and zero-tolerance campaigns make enforcement quicker and more visible. Regulators and maritime agencies continue to push stronger safety culture and training standards for passenger ships, while regional bodies emphasize lessons learned from passenger incidents and call for better prevention and emergency procedures. That means ships must show they train their crew in crowd crisis management and report incidents promptly. Practical rules to avoid being banned for life: don't disrupt safety briefings or crew duties. Never heckle or threaten officers or entertainers. Never perform stunts on railings, gangways, or overboard areas. Follow alcohol rules: don't drink irresponsibly or bring prohibited quantities. And obey embarkation, immigration procedures, jumping overboard, arrest plus deportation. These behaviors are the most common triggers for ejection and bans. If you're involved in an incident, cooperate calmly, document your version, and use the ship's formal complaint process channels rather than social media theatrics. Escalation and public shaming often harden a company's response. For operators, invest in clear conduct policies, visible staff enforcement, alcohol management and training in de-escalation, and emergency passenger handling to reduce repeat problems. Follow the rules, respect crew, and use common sense near edges and crowds. It's the fastest way to keep vacations fun and your name off any permanent ban list.